Why foreigners are main investors in our African resources? So, to solve the challenge of leadership, we can use short-term plan and long-term plan. Short-term plan, we can take those young people, leaders, some of young ministers, and send them to Burkina Faso, where they will be lectured by Captain Traore. For a long-term plan, let us build leadership college in Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso, where lectures will be Julius Malema, lectures will be um, Dr. Alkana Chomboli Kwao, Professor Pierre Lumumba, and many good people in the continent of Africa. And of course, Captain Ibrahim Traore will be there to make sure that things is moving smooth. So from there, I think we can solve the challenge of leadership. But without doing so, I don't see the future of this continent because we don't know what we want. And that's why you see the Chinese are here. They know what they want. They want resources. They don't want money. They want resources. You know, if you control resources, automatically control money. You see, Africans, we control nothing. We control nothing. We have trained to think that investors must looks like white, of course. And when it comes to black people, we have been told that you don't have money, you don't have capacity, you don't have technologies, and those are just terminology that are being used to undermine Africans. When African came in and trying to invest, black people trying to invest, you find these terminologies. You don't have capacity, you don't have technology, you don't have capital. So when Africans will have capital, when Africans will have technologies, those are just questions that we need to ask. You know, you see these summits, you find China Africa summit. Do you think those summits are for Chinese to invite Africans to invest in Chinese resources? No, those are just summits for Africans, especially our leaders, to show the Chinese or to show the Europeans or to show the Americans that this is the place where you can come and invest. But you never hear that the Chinese or Europeans showing Africans that we have resources here, go and invest here, or welcome and invest here. And that's why you can't find African company in China. You can't find oil company in Europe, African oil company in Europe. But if you come to Africa, you find Total, you find BP, you find many Western companies. You see, it looks like we Africans, we don't have capacity, and that's what they are doing. And of course, this is being inherited. And I've been saying this many times. We need Africa Diaspora Summit, where we should address all these issues. That when Africans, black people, will be the main investors in their natural resources. These summits, you see, I have been saying many times, these summits are for the interest of those who are sponsoring these summits. And that's why we are saying we need African Diaspora Summit, the summit that will be sponsored by Africans, to tell our brothers and sisters, our relatives, our mothers and fathers, our kings and queens in the diaspora and those who are in the continent that this is the area where we can invest, we can collaborate, we can come together. And of course, another problem or challenge that we have, Africans, we are not working together. We don't come together. And that's why it is difficult for us to achieve. Even here, you heard from President Ruto. But maybe his idea is so good, but what about other leaders? We have seen what happened to Burkina Faso. How many African leaders are supporting Burkina Faso or Mali or Niger? But some of them are keeping silence. They're not supporting. Burkina Faso has taken their own path to make sure that all resources are going to be processed in Burkina Faso. For instance, gold. Burkina Faso said clearly that no export of gold and processed gold must not go out. So how many African countries stood up and said, we are not going to export our low diamond, our low cocoa, our low cobalt cotton, but you find only Captain Ibrahim Traore, and of course himself he cannot achieve for the whole continent. So we need vision leaders first of all. That's why I started with that. The problem is leadership. We need leaders who are so visionary, who can transform. I think it's about the issue of generation. The generation of Kwame Nkrumah, all of them, they have the same vision. If you go to Kwame Nkrumah, Mandela, Nyerere, you go to Machel, Samola Moise Machel, Patrice Emery Lumumba, Modibo Keita, Captain Isidore Sankara. If you come to Hamed Ben Bella, Gamal Abdel Nasser, Milton Obote, Kaunda, Banda, all of them, they have the same idea. But this generation, the generation that we have today, we don't have the same idea. We are so divided. If you go to Burkina Faso, you find Captain Ibrahim Traore is totally different with Ramaphosa. Is totally different with someone of Ghana, Nana Addo Akufo. If you find Tinubu, you see, they cannot match. They cannot match. So the idea of Tinubu is totally different with Captain Ibrahim Traore. But if we have leaders, even 5 leaders like Captain Ibrahim Traore, I hope Africa have to move far. But all in all, maybe it is a matter of generation. This generation that we have in the leadership in Africa, I think many of them, they have different vision about this continent. Of course, and that's why sometimes you wonder that you find some of our leaders talking about United Africa, the vision of African Union, but they don't take action. Those who are responsible to unite the continent, but they are not uniting. You see, you find leaders talking very well, articulating very well about the vision of Kwame Nkrumah, the vision of Nyerere, but when it comes to implement, they are not ready. They are not ready to break these borders, but they are talking about the continental free trade area. Good words about Agenda 2063. How can we achieve if we are not implementing? So I think the issue here is about the issue of generation, of course, the leadership of this generation. We need visionary leaders who can come together and say, from now and then, we are going to have free movement of people and goods. We don't need leaders who are being working for the West. And of course, our mother, Dr. Alkana Chombolikwa, has been exposing this. We have African leaders who are in the payroll of Western agencies. So they're here. They're Africans, but they're working for the West. So they're working for the interest of the West. So if it comes for the interest of Africans, they are not ready, and they are not working properly to make sure that Africa is going to achieve it. That's why we need generation that will see the importance of coming together. That's why we need Julius Malema, people like Julius Malema. We need people like him. Of course, we need Captain Ibrahim Traore is in power, Simi Goita, Abdulrahman Chan. So we need more energetic leader who can stand for the interests of Africans, not African leaders who are being invited everywhere. There's something that maybe you may not, something. You remember the late president of Tanzania, John Pombe Magufuli. For almost 6 years, he didn't travel to Europe. So how many African leaders who came to power and traveled to Europe? It looks like Europe is like a bedding room where he can go and sleep. So you see, but there's something in our ideologies and the way we have been being prepared to become leaders, and that's the main problem. And of course, I've been saying this. The problem is that Africans, we are being sponsored for many things. Even our elections are being sponsored. Even these political parties, and I've been saying this many times, these political parties are being used to divide the Africans, and the West using these opportunities to penetrate or to put someone who they want. And that's why you find many opposition parties in the continent of Africa. Many of them, not all, many of them are being sponsored by the West. You find someone who the West want to become a leader. So they tell him or her to start or to create political party, then they start pushing the agenda and trying to support him or her. Why? Because they want, if he become a leader, their things to move smooth. They don't want people like Captain Traore. They don't want people like Assimi Goita. They don't want such kind of people. They don't want people like Magufuli. They don't want people like Thomas Sankara. So, like Patrice Emery Lumumba. They don't want such kind of people like Malema. And that's why I'm telling you the truth. This generation, they like Malema. This, for instance, South Africa, the generation of South Africa, they like so much, especially young people. They like so much Julius. Even the continent, young people in the continent, they love Julius Malema. But there's something that, take this, it will be difficult for Julius Malema to become a president of South Africa. Why? Because they fear Julius Malema. The system is fearing Julius Malema, that if this man will come to power, Malema will take control of natural resources in South Africa. So they fear him so much. So that's why you see Malema. I see for this, the way the system looks like, Malema is good politician, is good leader, but the system don't want the people like Julius Malema. And we have allowed the system, Western system, to control our electoral processes, to control our political parties, to control our economy. So if you control the economy, you automatically control the people. So if people are too angry, you can control them. So that's why yesterday I shared the video of Captain Traore on the issue of sorters, optical light sorters of lice. Why? Because Traore knows very well that you cannot lead the people who are so hungry. You cannot lead them. So you need, first of all, to feed them, to make sure that these people, they have enough food, they have food on the table. Then you can tell them something they can follow. Otherwise, you cannot do like that. And that's why you see things are not okay in Zimbabwe. Why? Because when Mugabe decided to take responsibilities of returning the land to the rightful owners, you see what happened. They do everything to collapse Zimbabwe, to make sure that Zimbabwe is going to collapse, and that's what they did. But all in all, my dear kings and queens, ladies and gentlemen, what I wish to share was the issue of Africans to be the main investors in our natural resources or on our resources. We don't want Western or Eastern people to be the main investors. We want Africans to be the main investors. Then we can collaborate with others. And that's what we need. We have capacity. For 60 years, we don't have technology. For 60 years, we don't have capacity. So why are we here in the continent of Africa? You know, there's something that I ask myself. Why I was born in Africa? Why I am African? What's wrong with me, African? So those are just difficult questions that I'm trying to ask you. But all in all, the aim is to share this message to you, my dear kings and queens, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Don't forget to share the video, and of course, I saw many comments for previous video. I will try to improve what you have told me, especially on the issue of sounds and also the issue of speeches. Of course, many things I will try to do my best. But all in all, this is the place. This is not an English class, but this is the place where we, the people of Africa, especially African people, will come together to share our thoughts and to share updates, news, and to find solutions for what is happening in our mother continent, Africa, for challenges facing our beautiful continent, Africa. Thank you.